What's up, everybody? Joe White here, and I'm here to talk a little bit about Mr. McMahon episode 2. The title of this episode is Heat, and I will say they're doing a good job of flowing one episode into the other. This documentary is very well structured, it's very well paced. Well, episode 2 had a little bit of pacing issues throughout it. Golly, if you're traveling through Indiana today or Illinois today, cops are everywhere. Good God. Anyway, um, So episode 2 starts off with WrestleMania and how they transferred from WrestleMania 1 to 2, then 2 to 3, and they go over the Hulk Andre stuff. Again, as I said with episode 1, this is nothing new for me. Um, you're not learning anything new if you've already been following the business for as many years as I have. Um, Not that I'm an expert or anything, but they go into the attendance for WrestleMania 3, and they say, oh, we crowd 93,000 people, 93,000. And of course, Meltzer is quick to jump on his soapbox. They only drew this many. They only drew this many. And there's nobody there to refute him. There's nobody there to say, yeah, he's right. So, um, which it's, you know, it is what it is. I don't care how many people were actually there for WrestleMania 3. Okay? Nobody really cares but you, Dave. How many people that were there for WrestleMania 3? You know, it happened what? 87? So 97, 07, 17? About 35 years ago? 34? I don't know. Y'all do the math. It happened well over 30 years ago. Nobody cares. The point of it was McMahon drew probably one of the hugest crowds for an entertainment event ever up to that point. And then, of course, Meltzer's quick to jump on the fact of Hogan and Andre had fought many times. Andre had lost before. Andre had been slammed before. When McMahon flat out tells you, we wanted to build a narrative for this story. So, yes, it's a narrative, it's a story. We wanted to build the immovable object versus the unstoppable force. And they did it beautifully, in my opinion. Then they get into the ring boys. It's like, okay, you're riding high, and now the brick walls start to come that McMahon is dealing with in his life. He's got to deal with the ring boy scandal, and then so after he deals with the ring boy scandal, he has to deal then with the Rita Chatterton stuff allegations, and then the steroid trial. And my God, I think that's the first time that I've ever really seen Rita Chatterton doing her deal, because I don't go back and look for this stuff. I just read, news bits and whatever else. I had no interest in going back and watching her referee a match, but golly, that woman looks sad the entire time she's on this documentary, whether it be while she's refereeing, whether it be while she's on Tuesday Night Titans, and then they go to her on the talk shows on Geraldo and all this. She just looks sad all the time. Anyway, and then they show Vince McMahon on Donahue with the Ring Boy scandal, and Meltzer in his 1980s long haircut, and his suit with the shoulder pads that make him look like a complete doofus, but that's how they dressed back then. And again, this is nothing that we didn't already know. I'm not shocked that they actually showed the Donahue footage. It's there on YouTube. The Rita Chatterton Geraldo interview is there on YouTube. Go watch it. Go watch it in full so that you're not, doing it out of context. And then they briefly touch on the Jimmy Snuka thing about Vince paying off the police to not arrest Jimmy Snuka for the rape of for the murder of his then girlfriend. Which Snuka has gone to court and been found, I believe he was found guilty of it before he died. Then they, cut to Jimmy Hart. And the real damning thing of this is Jimmy Hart saying, I'm cautious to what I say here because I don't know what they want out, what they don't want out, because he's still an ambassador for the company. He still does work for them from time to time. But for him to say, "Oh, I don't know what they want out there and what they don't." Dun, dun. It's like they play a musical pin drop of needle drop. Dun, dun. Like we got him. Over that. Um, Again, Tony Atlas comes off as a complete goof. Hey, there is. It sounded like he's got a bunch of marbles in his country ass. Hey, yeah, my Papa used to grab my pecker in the locker room. And clearly the people interviewing him go, "What the fuck did you just say?" Yeah, they grabbed my pecker in the locker room. Dude, come on. At least try to enunciate your words and speak a little bit clearly. Come on. Come on. I'm sorry. If I was to do a re-edit of this documentary, Atlas got to go because he just comes off as a dumb wrestler. He really does just come off as the typical stupid dumb jock in all of this, even more so. He talks like he's got marbles and we were so bad to women's back in the day. Women's? You mean women? Yeah, man, we use women's like they were toys. I mean, come on. You know, it's just so stereotypical to use something like this. I would have cut him off. I would have cut him out or found some other African American wrestler who speaks more succinctly and eloquently to convey what was going on there during that time. You know? And then they get into the WCW stuff. And this is where I have a problem with episode 2. They act like WCW never existed up until, until Hulk Hogan went there in 94. Um they act like Ric Flair coming to WWE for that 1 year would have been a good story to tell before that. But no, they got to and I blame this on the documentarians. I blame this on, the people who created this. And, I did think it's like, come on, no mention of WCW up until Hulk Hogan goes there. And that's such a betrayal. And Hulk Hogan goes there right in the middle of the steroid trial. So, and it ends on a kind of a cliffhanger of we don't know what Hulk Hogan's going to say in the steroid trial. I did find it funny how they began the episode. Like the opening theme of episode 2 was Vince McMahon doing the stand back thing from the Slammy Awards all those years ago. So that was kind of funny. But Tony Atlas is just the weakest part of this documentary for me. It just makes me hang my head and shake it. Like, oh my lord, really? He used to grab my pecker. What? He used to grab my pecker. Come on. Come on. Do we have to include this? But then they add with a little. I do like how every episode so far has ended with a kind of epilogue to the stories that they're telling. Like, yes, um, they settled their lawsuits with Geraldo and all this, and the defamation lawsuit was settled with Rita Chatterton, the referee. And then they go, yes, in 2023, the statute of limitations on rape was temporarily lifted because at the time of the documentary, this interview was recorded in 2021. That hadn't come about yet. So in 2023, state of New York lifts the statute of limitations temporarily on rape, and Rita Chatterton plunges in and gets her multi-million dollar lawsuit settled. So again, money grabbing based off of some allegations. Of course, we don't have text messages to back up the Rita Chatterton allegations. We do have text messages and emails to back up, and doctor's records apparently to back up the Janelle Grant stuff that's coming. So overall, episode 2 was kind of a hodgepodge because they go from talking about the steroid trial 1 minute to the Ring Boy scandal, then back to the steroid trial. Then we got the Rita Chatterton thing, and then back to the steroid trial. And then Hogan goes to WCW, up back to the steroid trial. So if you're going to do, tell multiple stories, kind of tell them one after another or give like a timeline, an accurate, succinct timeline. They didn't do that with episode 2. But again, this wasn't made for people like me who already know about all this. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Are you enjoying this documentary so far? And we'll be back tomorrow with episode 3, and we'll see you down the road.